Hello, history aficionados. Welcome back to the Alternate History channel. The pages of our past are filled with events that could have tilted the scales of fate in any direction. Today, we'll be diving deep into a world where the mighty clash of the First Crusade never echoed through the sands of the Levant. How would a world without this monumental expedition look? Would Europe, Byzantium, and the Islamic realms have charted a different course? Join us as we journey through this captivating what-if scenario. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more thrilling historical adventures. Let's get started! During the 11th century, the Christian Byzantine Empire was in a state of decline. The once sprawling empire was continually pushed back by Arab caliphates and, more recently, the emerging Seljuk Turks. These Turks, newly converted to Islam, rapidly expanded their territory, culminating in their decisive victory over the Byzantines at the Battle of Manzikert in 1071. This defeat wasn't just a territorial loss, it signaled the waning power of the Byzantines and marked the Seljuks as a significant force in the region. Meanwhile, in Western Europe, the papacy sought to enhance its authority. The Christian kingdoms were deeply involved in regional conflicts, notably the Reconquista in Spain. The Church aimed to channel the aggressive energies of European nobility into a cause that would unite them under the banner of Christianity. Yet, in this alternate path of history, the catalyst for the First Crusade never occurs. Perhaps Emperor Alexios I, feeling the weight of his predecessors' struggles with the West, decides not to seek help from Rome. Without the Byzantine appeal, Pope Urban II lacks the momentum and the raison d'etre to rally the Knights of Christendom to march eastward. European kingdoms remain embroiled in their regional conflicts, focusing on Reconquista or Norman expansions. The Christian fervour, which could have spilled into Anatolia and the Levant, is instead channeled into local endeavours. The absence of a large-scale Christian intervention in the east means the Seljuk Turks consolidate their hold on Anatolia more firmly. The Byzantines, bereft of Western support, might try to combat the Seljuks with varying degrees of success. But without the combined might of Christendom, they face a daunting task. The trajectory of the Middle East begins to shift in ways that will have profound implications for the balance of power in the region. With the First Crusade absent from the annals of history, the 11th and 12th centuries unfold rather differently. The Byzantines, facing the Seljuk Turks without Western aid, opt for a combination of diplomacy, alliances, and limited military campaigns. Emperor Alexios may turn to fellow Christian Orthodox nations like the Kingdom of Georgia or even distant Christian Armenia. While these alliances provide some relief, they aren't strong enough to turn the tide entirely. Anatolia's gradual loss to the Seljuks continues, and Byzantium becomes more of a regional power than a major empire. Absent the unifying threat of the Crusaders, the Muslim world remains fragmented in the Levant. The Seljuk Turks consolidate Anatolia, but further south, multiple smaller states, including Fatimids of Egypt and various emirates, continue their rivalries. The absence of a Christian invasion might delay the rise of powerful unifying figures like Salah ad-Din. Without the Crusaders to oppose, there's no immediate force pushing for the unification of the Muslim states in the region. Without the outlet of the Crusade, the militaristic energies of Europe remain focused closer to home. The Reconquista in Spain intensifies as Christian kingdoms push against Muslim-held territories with greater vigour. The Normans, under the likes of Robert Guiscard and his descendants, expand their interests further into Italy and perhaps even further into the Mediterranean. The papacy, without the success of rallying a pan-Christian military campaign, seeks other avenues to expand its influence, possibly endorsing more local campaigns or emphasising ecclesiastical reforms. The lack of a crusading spirit also means that the Baltic crusades against pagans in northern Europe might either be delayed or manifest differently. In essence, the non-occurrence of the First Crusade leads to a more regionally focused world during the 12th century. The Byzantines, although weakened, hang on to their territories through alliances and diplomacy. The Muslim world remains diverse and fragmented, and Europe continues its own regional conflicts and expansions without the diversion of a grand Eastern campaign. As the decades meld into centuries, the absence of the First Crusade casts a long shadow over global developments. Byzantium, a bastion of Christendom and ancient Greco-Roman knowledge, continues its struggle to hold back the tide of external pressures. With each passing decade, it borrows elements from its neighbours, diplomatic practices from the Muslim Emirates, military tactics from the steppes, and trade insights from Italian city-states. The blend creates a more cosmopolitan Byzantium, enriched in culture but less distinctly Roman than before. Further west, Europe's trajectory is dramatically altered. Without the melding of European and Near Eastern knowledge during the Crusades, the Renaissance takes on a different character. It might emerge slower, more focused on internal European traditions than Eastern ones. The tales of knights and holy wars, which dominate medieval European literature, are replaced by other narratives. Perhaps we'd see even earlier developments of chivalric romances or sagas of exploration and conquest closer to home. Speaking of exploration, the delay in East-West interactions might change the motivations for the Age of Exploration. The push to bypass Ottoman-controlled routes to reach India for spices and goods could be more urgent. Without a direct experience in the Levant, European powers might be even more driven to find sea routes, potentially hastening the discoveries of the likes of Columbus or Vasco da Gama. On the religious front, without the memory of the Crusades, later Christian-Muslim interactions take on a different hue. The push-pull dynamics of the Reconquista continue to shape Iberia, but without the First Crusade as a precedent, military-religious campaigns might lack the same fervour or justification. The interfaith dialogue, driven by scholars and merchants, could emerge as a more dominant mode of interaction than it did historically. Finally, within the heartlands of Islam, the absence of a unifying external threat allows regional powers to rise and fall, much like the ebb and flow of dynasties. However, without the eventual unifying force that Salah ad-Din brought in response to the Crusades, the Levant might see longer periods of fragmentation, leading to a myriad of cultural and scientific centres blossoming across cities like Damascus, Jerusalem, and Cairo. In this alternative tapestry of history, the world's geopolitics shift subtly, painting a picture of a more regionally focused but equally vibrant mosaic of cultures and powers, each charting their own course in the vast ocean of time. And there we have it, a world vastly different from the one etched into our history books. Without the First Crusade, the tapestry of relations between the Christian and Muslim worlds, the fate of the Byzantine Empire, and the trajectory of European medieval politics would have taken unfamiliar twists and turns. But as with all alternate histories, we're left with both answers and further questions. Would another event have eventually brought these worlds into collision? Only time, or perhaps another deep dive into an alternative past, can tell. Thank you for joining us on this expedition through history's labyrinth. If you enjoyed this journey, give us a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, keep exploring the endless what-ifs of our world's timeline.